everybody. What is happening, Sixers fam? The Sixers get the W on an unbelievable, entertaining game here, 103-101. The Sixers move on to 30-19 on the season, guys. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you love the Philadelphia 76ers. Joining me tonight, I've got my man from Philly Sports Network. He does an amazing job with the Pick Swap podcast. Please be sure to subscribe. Check them out on Twitter. What's up, Sean?
What is going on? Not the game I expected at all to watch tonight. I did not think it was going to be a thriller coming down the wire with the Sacramento Kings, but definitely a game that got me into it. The Sixers did their best to kind of Sixer that game away, but we found a way to win, so I guess I can't complain.
Absolutely not. I'm going to share my screen here. How do we not start? This whole season has been about the Ben Simmons trade rumors. How do we not start out with Tyrese freaking Halliburton, who put on a show here tonight? Tyrese Halliburton had 38 points, 11 of 12 from the line, 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 9 from three, 3 steals, 7 assists, 2 turnovers. It really was the Halliburton show versus Maxey in that fourth quarter, man. That was a ton of fun. A ton of fun. Like the entire point of this game up until that fourth quarter was the Sixers' lack of a point guard. I was just screaming at the TV. It was obvious. Seth Curry, point guard, it wasn't working. Tyrese Maxey, he needs to be more adamant about being involved in this offense. It is what it is. But that Tyrese Halliburton versus Tyrese Maxey fourth quarter show was amazing. We've heard a lot about Tyrese Halliburton in these Ben Simmons trade rumors. Dude, I'm going to ask you point blank. If Halliburton's heading back to Sacramento within the hour, are you pissed off right now?
A little bit. I mean, the kid is awesome. I really think, going into this game, I felt like he was I've been very high on Halliburton, especially lately, and I just think he would be a perfect link between Embiid and Maxey. He would take so much pressure off Maxey to be a guy as a passer, and he can flat out score the basketball. I mean, that three to pull it within 2 points was absolutely ridiculous. Dude. From the corner there. We were talking in the living room, saying it looked like the Kawhi shot almost, like the angle and the way he hit that. And the Sixers could not play better defense on a lot of his points tonight. There were some crazy athletic finishes and things he did, and I had a pretty high bar for him going into this game, and he more than surpassed that. So very impressed by him.
I'm so glad you brought that shot up. The last ball handler, playmaker that can make that kind of shot, I went to Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler last time with a guy that can, with the ball in his hands, put his team on his back and make that kind of shot. I'm so used to Joel Embiid carrying this team all season long. I went to Butler, man. That was my first take, and I hear you with the Kawhi shot. I'd rather not talk about that.
Yeah, I feel you.
But man, guys, if you're watching us live, would you do that deal right now? Ben Simmons for Tyrese Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, all that. Let us know in the comment section below. I think we got to talk about Joel Embiid here. Struggled here in that first half. Joel Embiid, especially in that first quarter, not the best showing from Joel Embiid. Dude was double teamed constantly. Joel Embiid didn't hit his first bucket until 1:30 remaining here in the second quarter. And then you just saw it, man. Joel Embiid got pissed off in that third quarter. Absolutely pissed off. Eye of the Tiger, took over 17 points. He ended the night here. What was his stats? I'm going to pull it up. 36 points. He had 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 10 of 18 from the field, 14 of 18 from the free throw line. And that was basically his damage in the first half was all from the free throw line. What was your take? What was your kind of take from Joel Embiid tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he was really getting whacked, in the first half especially. Those were earned free throws that him getting to the line. Mo Harkless got him a couple times. They were very physical with Joel. So those were earned free throws. I mean, you just feel it coming at this point. You just wait for the Joel switch to flip for him to take over. I don't think it should be brushed over. It's kind of a skill the way he paces himself throughout the game, gets ready, and just the growth and control of the game. The way he just wouldn't let the Sixers be out of the game, but was ready to just take it to that notch. It happens on pretty much a game by game basis, and I mean, this shouldn't be a game that came as close to it as it did. This should have been a more comfortable win for the Sixers. But for Joel to just ensure that it isn't a loss, and that for a game that overall the team played very poorly, to still come out on top is notable.
Yeah. We have Tay Blackwell saying, after that performance, get us Tyrese Halliburton from the Kings. My man Quentin says, bleep the Kings. I absolutely love it. Darth Crew, how they won is beyond me. That was like the major takeaway, especially in that like first half, like halfway through the third quarter. Like there's no way the Sixers should have been in that game whatsoever. Yeah. The Kings were awful, especially in that third quarter. Looking at my notes, you look at the lack of point guard play from the Sixers halfway through the third quarter. The Sixers point guards had 10 points and 5 assists in 38 minutes between Korkmaz and Tyrese Maxey. The defense was shit. The energy on defense was absolutely god-awful, especially halfway through this game. And then it just kind of flipped. You saw kind of Tyrese Maxey. Actually, I'll take it back. I want to throw it a little back. What was your take on Andre Drummond? Because I thought his energy in defense was really important in this game when a lot of this team was somewhat dead. Like Andre Drummond, I thought has been very good within, at the rim offensively. It's just one of those like underrated Andre Drummond games. Drummond ended up with just 3 points, 3 points, 8 rebounds, a block, a steal. But his defense at the rim was outstanding.
Yeah, I thought it was a good Drummond game too. My favorite Drummond games are the ones which he just doesn't do too much, that he just stays within the where we need him to operate, and that's where he's successful, and that's what he did tonight. The one block was terrific. That was
on Halliburton.
Yeah, on Halliburton, a pretty ridiculous block. But that's valuable as like a backup center. Like I not to circle it back to Dwight Howard, but just the Dwight without the fluff is such like a beautiful thing to me. And that's sometimes what we see with Drummond. I thought tonight was one of those nights. And I mean, he just did his job. A guy that he's been very just about his business this year, which I do respect, in the way he just comes in, does his thing, and goes. So I was happy with the performance. There weren't any of the too much flashy passing or too much else going on, and helped the Sixers a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. Mango Gangos. That's an awesome name. I'd still hold out for Harden over Halliburton, but Halliburton might still have an all-star ceiling. There was a moment where Tyrese Maxey was amazing in this fourth quarter. He had a floater. He assisted Drummond amazingly to the basket. Then he had a steal and bucket in transition, which really put the Sixers up for good, up 3 points. And I remember I put out a tweet like Tyrese Maxey to Tyrese Halliburton, like, look at me, I'm the captain now. And sure enough, Tyrese Halliburton drains a 3-pointer from like 5 feet outside of the 3-point line. That was a show, man. That was an absolute show. But I get you, Mango Gengo. Hallie's still not consistent enough. John Bruce says needs Harden or KD. New York doesn't know how to manage those two together. So that's like the main question is, do the Sixers not allow Tyrese Halliburton back to Sacramento after this game, knowing how well he shoots from three, the playmaking, that was my main takeaway from this game was the Sixers, don't have point guards that can, distribute the ball and get guys open shots, and B, they get eaten alive from point guards just getting into the paint. I saw that again and again. When you have I love Tyrese Maxey, but when you have a Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey backcourt, they bite on the guy going into the paint, leaving wide open perimeter shots again and again and again. That's just things I have seen. So a Maxey Seth Curry backcourt, I don't know if you can live with that given their defensive inefficiencies. So any take on that, man? Real quick thoughts before you move on.
Curry specifically is the guy that jumps off to me as defensively just is so much of a zero in that category. And even when we think back to the playoffs last year, not to break open to wounds again, but as people that are frustrated with Matisse for the lack of offense, I feel the same way about Curry, just than the fact that he really cannot defend. And tonight he was getting cooked by Davion Mitchell a good bit. Another reason why Halliburton was so good tonight is both those guys were winning the matchup in the backcourt. But I don't have long-term faith in Curry as a defender. Like Kevin Huerter was killing us in that Hawks series, and we needed Curry on the court because of how great he was on offense. But it's like Kevin Huerter should not be a guy killing anyone and on a one-on-one kind of role like that. And I just think that comes on a regular basis. And I mean, obviously the way he scores is so important for this team, and is so like offensively is so involved with the 2-man game with Embiid. But I do have legitimate long-term concerns with Curry as far as being able to guard, especially when we talk about postseason. And as far as the kind of Halliburton talks a little bit, like he very much fills a lot of what the Sixers are missing. Like when you really look at like the issues, I mean, you've acknowledged the passing, the playmaking. He's got good size. He would take some defensive responsibilities off Maxey as far as being allowing Maxey to take the true point guard. Halliburton's big enough to guard a guy a little bigger. And I mean, there's a lot to like. I've never fully believed that the Maxey and Curry backcourt is, I guess, built to fully contend. And I still think Curry specifically like can be successful in a more limited role and a guy off the bench, and like there's a place for him, absolutely. But I do think that the lack of defense between the two of them, and mainly just size, is the biggest thing. It is a legitimate concern.
Yeah, Curry struggled tonight. 2 of 7 from 3-point range, 8 points. He was a -1 tonight, 5 assists. He had 2 turnovers. The entire team, the amount of turnovers was absolutely astronomical, especially in that first half. They have 13 turnovers in the first half to 11 assists. It was not a good brand of basketball here, but they turned it around. The Sixers outscored the Kings here 53-39 in the second half. All good stuff. Some quick comments. Ben Simmons still has a higher ceiling. Are we talking Call of Duty? I'm not really sure. Let's go to Darth Bruce. Has anyone asked Doc what he could have done better? My man Austin got killed for that.
Yeah. I thought it was so funny playing the Spurs the next game too. I wanted so bad somebody to ask Popovich the same question, but didn't happen. Was meant to be. That
was embarrassing. The fact that you compare yourself to Doc or Pop, and then like your previous championship was with 3 of the best players of all time 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And you're 4 rings short of the guy you're comparing yourself to. Five championships and 1 championship is a very different conversation.
Yeah, we were having a good laughs at that one. No question about it. Quinn says often when I'm about to tweet about Curry's defense, he hit a couple of threes and I delete my tweet. Yeah, his defense is a problem. I mean, Seth Curry's numbers are terrific offensively. We all know what Seth Curry is about. You got him for peanuts for what? Josh Richardson. He is a terrific offensive player, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to win a championship, and you're weak, when you're only as good as your weakest link defensively, there is a thing to talk about there. Dark Bruce, yeah, go ahead.
It's also like it's stuff he can't do a lot about too. Like it's not like a defensive IQ thing, not an effort thing. He's just too small. He's got shorter arms and just isn't very explosive athletically, isn't particularly quick. Like it's just all things that in a matchup can be capitalized on, which in part I feel bad for him because it's like there really isn't a lot you can do to like make this better, but that's kind of, you take the good with the bad with it.
Yeah, Darth Bruce says the days of defense only went with Rodman. I'll throw it right back to you, man. That Detroit Pistons team with Tayshaun Prince and Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups, man, I love that team. That was one of my probably low-key favorite squads of my life. I love watching that team play basketball. Absolutely. Mango Gango says Halliburton healed Barnes and a first-round pick for Simmons and Harris. That's probably the best deal available, but Kings want Tease too. So let's move on. Let's go into a little bit on Tobias Harris. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tobias Harris. 32 minutes tonight, 7 of 12 from the field. He had 16 points. He was a 0 plus minus. He had 8 boards, 3 assists. Little over dribbling a little bit, unlike we've seen over the last few games. But there were definitely moments from Tobias that I really liked, especially in that first quarter. Man, when that guy is decisive, when that guy gets the ball with one dribble or less, makes a move, gets into the paint and converts, his inside the paint numbers are through the roof in January. His catch and shoot numbers in January from three are through the roof, like 46+% compared to what it was like. It was terrible. It was like maybe not. I don't even know if it was 30%. It was bad. So Tobias Harris had a pretty efficient game. What was your take on Tobias Harris?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as when he's decisive, he's a completely different player. When he's using off the catch and shoot, off one dribble, that it's just vastly different how impactful he is as far as what he does. I think tonight was a fine game out of Tobias. It wasn't anything crazy. It's still definitely better than the what we've seen previous in this season. I mean, it was funny to me seeing the Harrison Barnes and Tobias Harris showdown early on, especially in this game, because I do think they are kind of lumped in the same kind of category of player, and I think it was pretty funny just watching those two go about it. I think they ended with 10-9 in the first quarter, and like that to me was entertaining. But overall, a fine Tobias game. I'll take it. I like the catch and shoot. Overall, pretty good.
Yeah, 1 of 2 from 3-point range. Of course, you want to see way more attempts from Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Here.
No mid range.
Hold on. Let me see. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is all periods. This is Tobias Harris all periods. He's been shooting the ball really well from 3. When you talk about Buddy Hield, when you talk about Tyrese Halliburton, when you talk about these kind of guys like Harrison Barnes, like these are guys that take 4, 5, 6 or higher 3-point attempts per game. And when you talk about fit with Joel Embiid, optimizing Joel Embiid down low, that's what you need. You need to have that threat from the perimeter. But what I'd love to see from Tobias is 6 of 10 inside the paint. His numbers, Tobias Harris has really struggled inside the paint. Like within 10 feet, his numbers are vastly worse compared to last year during the regular season. They've gotten better and better in January. So there is something to be said that I'm not saying like Tobias isn't a bad contract. I'm not saying they're winning a championship. I'm not saying blah, blah, blah. But for what we see and what we need is help for Joel Embiid. We need a guy that can get buckets and help Joel Embiid. And I've dogged this guy for months. Tobias Harris is doing a better job.
The other point that I think, and I brought this up a couple times, but I think it gets brushed over too often, is the biggest thing about Toby that is huge for the Sixers is he's pretty much the only guy that just can go out and isolate and just try and get a bucket on his own. Like even when we think about like Maxey and Curry, Embiid is involved in just about all their scoring plays, whether it's a dribble handoff, just setting a screen, doing something. Like there needs to be plays for how much Joel is asked on a nightly basis where he can just say like somebody else do it this possession. And that is Tobias's role for this team, which that is like important as far as when we think about the longevity. I mean, we saw Embiid grabbing at his neck and grabbing at everything today, 21 straight games for him now. Like having a guy that can take some amount of just usage and I guess workload off is huge. And that is a lot of what Toby's role is.
And the first thing I think about when I'm looking at this stat, Tobias shot 1 of 2 from 3-point range. Harrison Barnes, Tyrese Halliburton, and Harrison Barnes had 23 3-point attempts in this game. 23!
Yeah.
So
Buddy Hield, 0 of 7.
They're not – yeah, Buddy Hield, that's a different story.
Yeah.
That guy, that's the only guy. That, like, as much as we're, like, super high on Tyrese Halliburton in this game with his playmaking and floor spacing, Buddy Hield didn't got it. He did not have it tonight.
Yeah, and Curry actually got him on a block from behind, which is a rare sight. Pretty much never see that, but I thought that was cool out of Curry. So I guess maybe Matisse is rubbing off on everybody a little bit.
Maybe. Quentin Moore says, I'm not giving up on Tobias Harris. Mango Gengo says, Tobias Harris is getting back into rhythm. No question about that. Seems to be definitely fully recovered from COVID. Chilla says, Tobias will look much better with someone in Simmons' spot. No doubt they need a point guard. The Sixers need a point guard, especially with Doc's offense. Like if this was a high-tempo offense that got Maxey in transition and moving up and down the court, I think Maxey would be fine. But this is Doc's offense. He's not going anywhere, at least this year, probably not even next year. This is what it is. So for me, definitely Tyrese Halliburton's ability to space the floor is undeniable. unfreaking deniable. Darth Bruce says Tobias Harris is night and day, super unreliable, no doubt about that. It has been better, overpaid, but that kind of hamstrings us. I mean, no one's going to debate that. It is what it is. It's a terrible contract. Chilla says for sure I'd rather him than Harrison Barnes if that's the trade. And Awesome Wells says Halliburton on the Sixers would be so nice. That's the fun take of that is the fun take. I think in general, like pretty much, I think Sixers fans were really high on Halliburton, but he was kind of off the books. I don't know. It might be. Tough
statement game out of Halliburton. Like I personally went in with a pretty high bar for what I could hope for, and I mean to end with what was it, 38? Yeah, 38 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 5 of 9 from 3. Like pretty much the best audition for the Sixers he could give in any way. And I also think it's a notable take that I think he looks better without De'Aaron Fox, which you can take that for what you mean. But I liked how it looked, giving him the keys to the offense, and he succeeded.
We've seen that with the Kings, where Halliburton has had the ball in his hands a lot more than De'Aaron Fox, and rightfully so. Doc's offense does not match up with 60% of the starting lineup. Yeah, if this was a high-tempo offense, I think the Sixers would be totally fine with Tyrese Maxey, but that's not the world we live in. So let's go on. Where should we go next, man? We talked about Tobias Harris. We talked about Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, Joel Embiid.
Danny Green. I want to give Danny Green a shout out.
Go ahead, man.
He obviously comes with limits. He's old. He's several steps behind, but I do think the Sixers are a better team with Danny Green on it. I mean, he ended with 11 points tonight, 3 of 4 from 3. He just lets it fly in a way that's like refreshing. And like when the ball swings around the perimeter and gets to it, and he's going to shoot it, that's important. Like, especially he's a guy that I would say more so than anybody, more so even than Tobias, I think has been negatively affected from Ben Simmons not being here. Like, yeah. And I also think if we get like a legitimate wing and he can play like 2 guard minutes, I think that would revive his career a pretty good amount too. So I guess I just still have hope that Danny Green can still be a serviceable role player on this team. And like, I just think there's something there. So there's been a lot of hate for Danny. He's been hurt a ton, but there's something there if he can stay healthy.
I've been one of the Danny supporters, and I know I always get flack for it, but like he is like the biggest enigma on this team. Like analytics wise, when he's playing.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he is such an impactful guy, even though like even the games when he puts up goose eggs offensively, he's like the opposite of the box score guy. Like he impacts this starting lineup so much with Joel Embiid. And that is definitely like the question we're going to be talking about in the next few months, like whether or not Danny Green should be starting, should it be Matisse Thybulle, blah, blah, blah. But man, Danny Green was on fire from the jump here. Danny Green had 8 points in less than 4 minutes in the first quarter. I love the 0 hesitation from 3. That is something the Sixers absolutely need. And the Sixers, I mean, you saw it tonight. Joel Embiid was getting double teamed constantly, and the Sixers were just bubbling the ball, man. They just could not handle the rock, and it just did not happen. Chunky says, DG, you have to at least respect and step out. The guard is 3. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It really does matter. You look at his absence in that Hawks series. It matters. Mm-hmm. It matters. The Sixers are a team that is a rhythm kind of team, and we saw it last year when one piece is out, the whole team goes to shit, and it's just baffling. Darth Bruce says, need him back for the Raptors year. Dude, I mean, that would be terrific. I mean, he's just not that player, but he is what we got. The best we got. I would like a little more athleticism. I would like a little more, assertiveness on offense for sure. But Danny Green is Danny Green. But I do think he is underrated for sure on this roster. His impact on this team goes well beyond the box score. 100%. If you're watching. Mm-hmm. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think there hasn't been enough Danny Love, and also defensively, like his hands are terrific. As much as he's still slow as far as movement wise, laterally, and absolutely has gotten slower with that, he does just have a knack, especially when he goes from the poke out from behind and just staying in front of. He has excellent hands. Like if the athleticism were there, if this was prime Danny Green, obviously it'd be awesome. But like the athleticism no longer there, but just the IQ and hands and instincts still are. So there's enough of a playable player for there, and I still think his presence matters on this team. So I'm also still in on Danny.
It is what, like, I would like an upgrade over Danny Green, of course. Is he worth the contract? I don't know, but he is what we got, and it's just I think the hate on Danny Green is just lazy. I think it's just lazy. Shadow Steve says, I get the Harden thing, but Morey needs to call the Kings back. You could trade Maxey or Halliburton to the Nets in a sign and trade. Don't waste this season. That is like the biggest thing that everyone's talking about is we're wasting a transcendent year from Joel Embiid, who has been sensational, carried this team, no question. How you feel? I'm doing much better. I've still got kind of congestion. I had COVID last week.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that. Yeah, so glad you're feeling a little better, but
I missed you guys. It's good to be back. It's really good to be back. So COVID hasn't stopped your beer drinking. Cheers, Doc Phil. Absolutely not. You know me, man. We keep rolling here. Show must go on. Mango Gang, I think the crux of Morey's calculation is that if he moves Ben before going for Harden, then he must give up Maxey in the offseason. I think Daryl Morey has handled this masterfully. I think he has done a terrific job managing everything going on. If you've been watching these shows, we've been saying James Harden a lot on this. Waiting for James Harden, optimizing this roster with more tradable assets moving forward. So, real quick, man, is that your take? Like, where are you at with this whole Ben Simmons thing?
Yeah, I agree that Morey's couldn't have handled this much better as far as just taking the lumps, rolling with it. I'm going to wait till the deadline before I make my judgment on anything. I mean, there's going to be so many more rumors. It's already an everyday thing, but like all these rumors and leaks and everything, they all come with some sort of intent or some sort of purpose. And I think the Harden stuff coming out, like I do think it's legitimate in the sense that there absolutely could be a Harden thing, but I also think a part of that is just raising the trade value bar. Like the Sacramento Kings should absolutely be saying, if the Sixers are cool with waiting till James Harden for the offseason, we need to throw everything that we have now to make this happen. Because the Kings, just based on what they are as a franchise, what they have been, not a winning record in 15 years, you should be trying to get your hands on Ben Simmons right now. So I think that matters. Personally, I'm more in on Halliburton than I guess I would expect it. I would be. I would value a firm can get Halliburton right now over a chance at Harden because there's still so much up in the air in that. Like I think at the end of this season, depending on how the Nets season goes, will change everything. Like the Nets could win a title this year, and all of a sudden Harden says, "This is the spot for me. I love it here." So I guess I'm very cool with like the smoke continuing with that, and James Harden obviously would be awesome here, but I am not solely relying on that. I still would prefer a deal to get done in the deadline if the right offer is there.
Yeah. Joel Embiid is just playing his ass off.
100%.
God Boo says Maxey's the best first round we've had since Joel. I'm not sure what that means. Halliburton and others might still be available in the offseason. And if we can keep Maxey while getting Harden, that would be special as well. Let's jump right into player of the game, man. Who's your player of the game?
Yeah, mine's Tyrese Halliburton. It's the guy. I mean, I don't think he could have put on a better audition for Sixer, a better performance tonight. I've been impressed. Again, this was a guy I was pretty high on coming into this game, and he more than raised my bar. I mean, just the on top of the athleticism, like there were a couple finishes where he was just hanging in the air and doing things that would be refreshing. The length he shows, the scoring ability, and his ability as a playmaker, as a passer. These are all things that would be terrific on the Sixers. I think he would be a very effective link between Embiid and Maxey as far as taking responsibility off both of them. And for me, he showed out. I mean, obviously Joel was awesome too. Obviously there's a lot, but Halliburton to me impressed me the most tonight. Yeah,
there's no question. That's the main takeaway that we're going to be talking about the next couple of days. Shadow Steve, glad Doc adjusted the rotations in the second half. Maxine Curry with the bench was good. Awesome Wells says Harden is 34. Yeah, the thing with James Harden, and I can't deny it, is when he's like 38 years old and making like 40 plus a year, that's the problem. That is like the long-term kind of thought about this entire deal, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and I also feel like the waiting to the offseason, like to me, you're now kind of biting yourself a little both ends on that. You're not getting the chance to win this year, and you're kind of still shortening the window. Like as much as there is so much talk about Joel and like the window has to be now, like he's still 27 years old. He's still for lately has been fairly healthy, and I think there's a very much a world where the Sixers can win with Joel not having to just backpack this team to wins on a nightly basis. Like, think about a world where Embiid can score like just 20 a game, dominate on rebounds, play great defense, and have other guys that can fill it up on the stat sheet. I just think that's possible going forward. So I don't want to fully shoot his window short.
Yeah. Mango says, I think with Embiid, you got to do it. Agreed. I'd pass on James Harden. I think Tyrese Halliburton is the player of the game. No questions asked. You can't argue that right now. Yeah. Joel Embiid had 2 points, 2 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of this game. He did nothing. And then the third quarter, I thought for me, Joel Embiid is a player of the game. When he is angry, when he is locked in, we saw it tonight. The dude is an MVP player. So Joel Embiid is my MVP. Player of the game here of the game. He had, again, 36 points, 12 boards, 6 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, but he got to the line. He shook off a tough first half. Joel Embiid is my guy. Let's wrap it up. How would you grade tonight's performance, man?
Not well. I would probably say this is a C- win. I would probably say. I'm glad they got it done. There really was a lack of energy early on, so to overcome that and find a way to win is the most important thing. A win is a win at the end of the day. But this shouldn't be a team that the Sixers are going down to the wire with, and it shouldn't take Embiid needing to go Mamba mode and get all angry for them to pull a win. So C- overall.
The only thing I'll say is I agree with that. I'll give it a B- for the fact that I was really excited for the Tyrese Maxey versus De'Aaron Fox matchup. We didn't get it, just like we didn't get Matisse versus LeBron James the previous night. But what we got was a really entertaining fourth quarter.
For sure.
That was fun, man. That fourth quarter between Maxey getting buckets, steals, assists, and Halliburton going off, that was good basketball, man. I had a lot of fun. So entertainment factor wise, not so much Sixers wise, I'm going to give this a B-. They need to come out better, man. They look sloppy. They really look sloppy. It's like death taxes and Sixers forgetting how to score the frickin' basketball for literally 6 minutes at a time. How many times have we seen that? Relentlessly in this season. It's been tough. It's been really tough.
Also, one more point I want to make. That 5-second call at the end was absolutely absurd. I can't believe that they gave a 5-second there. I thought Niang got it off, and just for that to happen at that stage in the game is just unreal.
I don't understand the refereeing in this game. And now I'm going to be the last one to ever blame the refs in an Eagles game, in a Sixers game. I hate doing that. It's literally my least favorite thing in the world. But I didn't understand a lot of calls in this game. They were baffling. They were baffling. Jonathan Bruce says B- is fair. The win was good enough, and the hustle was at the end was big. The 4.5-second goal, I don't understand. Yeah. I just don't understand.
And Niang walked off confident that he got it. It wasn't until he got to the bench that there was a turnaround. What happened? And Doc Rivers was rightfully furious. That was one of the shortest 5 seconds calls I've ever seen. And at that stage in that game, that's a massive call. So crazy they're just pulling that out.
It's crazy. All right, man. We are plus 30 minutes in. Where can we find you, bro? Floor is yours. Plug time.
Awesome. Yeah, you can check out all my written content at phillysportsnetwork.com. Follow me on Twitter at SeanBernard1. And check out our podcast, Pick Swap Podcast. Me and James Rain do it. Check out the YouTube channel on Twitter at Pick Swap Pod as well. So lots of awesome Sixers stuff, and just check it out.
Philly Sports Network, Pick Swap Pod. They're dropping Sixers content all the time. All the time. Please be sure to check out Sean's pod. It's terrific. Of course, check out all of our Sixers post-game shows. We are here for you guys, just reacting, finishing out this Sixers season. It's going to be a ton of fun, especially are we 10 days? I think it's 10 days to the trade deadline, something around there.
Yeah, it's the 10th, so something like that.
Something like that.
February 10th is the day.
Yeah, so just so much Sixers basketball to talk about. Also, NFL draft. I did my 5th mock draft last night. I did my 5 prospects to watch with the upcoming Senior Bowl literally within a week. And we've got a ton of NFL draft content. I've got linebacker rankings, cornerback rankings, wide receiver rankings, quarterback rankings, and I'm missing one, edge rusher rankings. So just that is like literally my baby. So there's going to be a ton of NFL draft content coming your way, especially this week because this is Senior Bowl week, practices. This is the biggest Eagles draft arguably ever. They have to knock this one out of the ballpark. It's going to be a ton of fun. So again, please follow my man Sean on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Does the Philly lead writer for the Sixers at Philly Sports Network. Check out all of his content there. It's amazing. And of course, the Pick Swap Pod. What is the handle for a Pick Swap Pod?
At Pick Swap Pod on Twitter, and then just Pick Swap Podcast on YouTube.
Awesome stuff, man. Check that out, please, guys. Share the love here at the Panelize. We share the love. Like, this is what we do. So for Sean, for myself, Sixers get the W. Thank you, everyone, for watching. All the comments. Please be sure to smash that like button if you're watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching us for the first time. For Sean, for myself, stay awesome. Everybody.